on top of it for his job, and he just rewired it to where nothing made sense.
But he thought he did a fantastic job.
Well, it made sense to him because he knew how it worked.
Sure.
But again, he'd passed, and he didn't leave an instruction manual of, okay,
nobody knew what
when you want to turn the radio on, you need to open up the tailgate or something like that.
See, I love the fact my dad knew that he sucked at being a handyman or a mechanic or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
He accepted the fact that he could do nothing, and he handed that skill down to me, and I can do nothing. I wish I could. It's one of those things now that I'm older and it's just done.
Sure. You're not going to learn now.
No, I'm not going to start YouTubing tutorials and taking apart, carburetors. It's over. But I wish when I was younger, I would have at least picked up some of these basic skills, because the money you save yourself, is ridiculous.
Well, it's like changing your own oil. You can change your oil pretty cheaply.
I used to be able to do that until these cars. Now you need a degree in microbiology and engineering to get to the oil pan now.
Right.
But I used to be able to see on a car, I could change the oil. And because I had so many flat tires, I had so many crappy cars in my life.
Right.
I could be on a Daytona pit crew. I've changed so many tires. And I could change oil because, like, a neighbor showed me once. He goes, bro, this is really easy. You're not very bright, but you can do it. I said, thanks. And so just an old school car, you just unscrew that thing, run it out.
Let it drain, put new oil in,
put it back, put the screw back in, filter, boom, done. And then all of a sudden the fancy cars came out. And they put stuff where you just barely can't reach it.
Well, that's the thing, is you have to have, a treasure map to find where you need to go instead of just reaching in and doing it.
So, I fall for everybody else does. Okay, I'll just go pay $80 and let somebody else do it. And then they take apart my car and go, hey, by the way, we found a couple things. Come here for a minute.
Sure, there's a raccoon living in your alternator.
So you need a new alternator, and you have a pet raccoon. So yeah, it was. Long story short, it was going toward the disaster I thought it was going to be, because this handyman, God love him, is just not very good. He is the trying to be nice here. He's not very good at it.
He's not listening.
He's not very good at it. So we had to bring a professional in to help him. Yeah, but next week he's going to come and put that toilet in. I'm
sure that's going to go
so
great.
ask me, on a scale of 1 to 10, my confidence level that this thing is going to go smooth.
Guess a -7.
About -10. Yeah, this is going to be a disaster. And the funny thing is my girlfriend was watching just for fun. She went to YouTube again to watch a YouTube tutorial on how to put a bathroom in, about to put a toilet in.
Yeah.
She's like, we could do this. I go, no, you could. We can't. You, yes. We know. I'll stand there with the instructions, or I'll hold the YouTube tutorial up so you can watch the video. But you don't want me involved with any kind of tools. It's not good.
That's how you spent your weekend.
That was my weekend. So much fun. And, of course, this is going on while the NCAA tournament's cooking, which makes me really happy. But your bracket surviving?
No. So, we always make the joke that it's the people that aren't ingrained in this that have the better brackets. Sunday afternoon, I asked my wife how her men's bracket was doing. She was in the 98th percentile.
Of course she is.
Now, it dropped down to 94 after the second round wrapped up, but still, I'm 20. She's annihilating me.
And she's not throwing that in your face at all, is she?
Not at all.
No.
But it's so funny because, we were out and about on Saturday, and we ended up stopping in 5 Points to eat. Very good calzone place I'll recommend to you in the break here.
I like me a calzone.
We went in there, and they had the A&M Michigan game on. She goes, oh, cool, the game's on, which is not typically something that she says, but she's so into her bracket, she wanted to make sure she could stay on top of it.
That is hilarious. My youngest filled out his first bracket, and, yeah, it's not going well. Which, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm happy it's not going well.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody who watches. He loves the NBA.
Sure.
He's not a college basketball guy. So the last thing I want is my little 17-year-old, my 17-year-old punk to have a better bracket than me the first time he does it, because I'll never hear the end of it.
Sure.
So I'm beating him right now, which is all that matters. I had first day was second day, though, saved me. I lost one game the second day.
Nice.
North Carolina.
See, we all thought after them getting in, doing what they did in the play-in game, okay, this is a team could be primed to go on a little bit of a run here.
I thought they would. Give Ole Miss credit. Ole Miss is rolling their way through this thing to 16.
Yep.
It's funny that day because that 15-1 saved me because I still only have like 11 Sweet 16. I've lost a couple of Elite Eight. Haven't lost Final Four yet, knock on wood, but I got dinged twice in the Elite. Clemson and VCU. Thanks.
Yeah, well, I had St. John's in the national championship game,
Ouch.
so
Ouch.
yeah, that kind of did it for me.
But hey, the good news is the wife is kicking it.
She is. She got 26 to 32 right in the first round.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. Oh, very nice for her. So. Anyway, glad you. It's just so funny. Now, how'd she pick it?
I don't know. Now, she did a mascot one separately where it's just like,
How's
hey,
that one doing?
pick the coolest mascot. She had Akron winning or something like that. So I haven't checked on that one. But
Zip is kind of cool.
But, she had her own, because she would explain to me some of her thought process on things. But, it's a little detailed more than just, hey, I like their colors or I like their mascot or whatever. So she put some thought into it. But again, she's not, outside of watching like Carolina games with me, she's not grinding on college basketball on a day in, day out basis. And
she's killing
She's not subscribed to Ken Palm or anything like that. So
that's the worst thing. You got all these analytics sites wide open and doing your thing, looking at it, efficiency ratings, all this other stuff. And she does a mascot bracket and she beats you.
Pretty much. That's how it goes.
The way it goes. Tell you what, I do want to, we're going to get to that here on the show today. This blathering I'm hearing that the NCAA tournament's dead and Cinderellas are dead and the NIL and the transfer portal have killed the Cinderella in the NCAA tournament and all this other stuff. We're going to get to this later. First of all, I see where the sane people are going, the conversation the sane people are bringing up.
Sure.
But the people that go overboard watch less college basketball than your wife and my girlfriend combined.
Yeah. I will say it is. This tournament has felt different. It's felt weird because you haven't had the crazy upsets. Yeah, you had Drake. You had obviously Colorado State. You had McNeese. Lower seeds. Yeah. Arkansas is obviously still alive. You wouldn't consider them a Cinderella though, but you haven't had the crazy upsets. You haven't had outside of Maryland the crazy buzzer beaters. Right. Like it has not been like the highlight factory of a tournament like we kind of see in the first two rounds a lot of the time.
It is true. And by the way, I'm hearing people call, John Calipari like Cinderella, which makes me laugh. He's more like Wicked stepsister, isn't he?
Yeah. And again, this, if anything, that's a team that was underachieving most of the season.
Underachieved all year.
They're finally playing up to their standard.
Yeah, they had a couple injuries that hurt them, but they've underachieved. And, watching them go toe-to-toe with St. John's and watching Arkansas bow up, and when the bully hit them, they hit the bully back. I think back to that game where when South Carolina hit them, they rolled over in the fetal position and cried.
And that was like 3 weeks ago.
And watching that team beat St. John's,
it's insane.
That team looks nothing like the team that was here getting the hell beat out of them.
I guess you can hang your hat on however far they go. Be like, hey, we beat them.
Oh, yeah, that's what you say. Took out a Sweet 16 team there. Look at that.
Like, mercifully beat them.
Oh,
wasn't close.
Crushed them. So we'll get into the NCAA tournament and this whole idea of, the Cinderellas are done and they're finished and it's over. And we'll have a discussion about all that. But the people that say the tournament's dead, you don't watch it anyway. Yeah. You don't. You fill out your bracket and you act like you know what's up.
We very much get caught up in, again, the wow factor. Like, oh, man, this 15 seed beat a 2, or there goes a 16 beating a 1, and the buzzer beaters, and, like, the highlights of it all. And, like, again, that's not what it's all about.
No, the casual fan is looking for the Cinderellas, and I get it. I love the Cinderellas.
Sure. It's great stories.
I love St. Peter's Run, the VCU, the George Masons. I love watching those. But the interesting part of this, and then we'll move on and circle back to it, you got some great matchups in the Sweet 16 because you got so many heavyweights still alive.
Yeah.
Except for the one you picked to the championship.
Yeah,
lost.
Well,
Anyway, so it's just there are some really good Sweet 16 games conceivably coming up this Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
UConn and Florida was probably game of the tournament so far. That was two really good teams throwing haymakers at each other the entire time.
And then the refs screwed Danny Hurley like always. Danny Hurley's undefeated.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, the only time Danny Hurley loses is when the refs screw him.
Exactly.
All right, so obviously baseball tonight. You'll hear it here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia and our affiliate 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. I love because Preston does it. Part of it's the biggest game ever. That's kind of Preston does a lot with these games.
Yep.
But I don't think I won't go. It's the biggest game ever. But this is one of those games. I don't believe in must-win games this early in a year. But I believe it's one of those games that's in your best interest to win. Does that sound like it makes sense?
Yeah, probably so. I feel like you're a little bit behind the eight ball because you burned Jarvis Evans on Sunday for the most insane scenario of, Dylan Eskew getting bonked on the head.
Isn't that the whole weekend in a nutshell?
It really is. And when I read that on Sunday, I'm like, sounds about right.
I was listening to Derek and Stewart's pregame. When Derek brought it up, I went, yeah.
I talked to Whittle yesterday, and I was like, have you ever seen that before? He's like, not really that I can think of. Maybe once or twice in the pros, but it's not something that's a common occurrence. And there's nobody out there to say, hey, heads up.
Yeah.
Here comes the ball.
John's been covering the game a long time. I've never seen it. Like if it's happened like that,
yeah.
I don't remember. I'm trying to think of one because I've covered a lot of Major League Baseball. I'm trying to think of something like that. I'm sure there's guys, warming up who felt something twinge in the bullpen, or I've heard of like Tom Glavine picked up a suitcase and hurt his rib and couldn't pitch and goofy stuff like that.
But again, when you have a projectile coming at you,
yes, and it hits you,
there's nobody like, hey, look out.
Look out. I mean, there's nothing you can do. So it's just weird. We'll see what happens tonight. It's one of those games that's just in your best interest to pull a W. It doesn't have to be pretty.
Yep.
1-0, who cares? And the run can come in on a balk.
Sure,
who cares?
Why not?
Just get a W, and then probably be in your best interest. I know this sounds crazy after what we just saw. You got to try to find a way to win 2 out of 3 against Tennessee.
At least it's at home.
You can't lose another home series.
No, you can't. Because you're about to start going on the road here in the next couple weeks, and you're going.
Look, Arkansas obviously looked at their offseason and said, we have a weakness that's called hitting. Let's go figure this out by getting a bunch of thumpers through the portal.
Yeah, they got better.
And Arkansas got a lot better offensively. So it was look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was awful. It was an awful weekend of baseball for South Carolina. But now, put it behind you, you move forward, you got to try to get a win against North Carolina. There's 21st ranked team in the country, 17th ranked team in the country?
21st ranked, and obviously Tennessee's number 1.
Mm-hmm. And so you got 2 more ranked teams to take on. Neutral, quote, site game in Charlotte. Then you have Tennessee here. You really need a 3-1 week.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Easier said than done. But
I know. I can sit here and say it. Sounds good, right?
Yeah.
But you got to go do it. So it was just rough. And obviously the women move on to the Sweet 16. Indiana gave them a run. That was kind of like a rock fight for a bit. I mean, the Hoosiers didn't. I believe the Hoosiers gave them a little trouble last year, too.
They did. They had that big comeback. And
that was like a 23-point deficit.
Yeah, they came back and made it interesting. And, I said yesterday, they're going to be glad to not see them for a while. Yep. But now you advance to Sweet 16, Maryland, who we'll get into.
This.
Wild game last night.
I'll say this. This is a good game for South Carolina because it feels like Maryland is absolutely allergic to playing any defense at all.
Yeah.
I think South Carolina runs them out of the gym.
Well, they also played a game and a half last night.
That game was crazy, by the way. So it feels like the women are on a nice path. I mean, and when they get the winner of North Carolina, Duke.
Yep.
That's a good matchup as well. We'll get into the next segment. It's just a sad injury for Southern Cal we'll get into. Men's basketball, there's a lot of rumors about players. The Gamecocks men are sniffing around the portal. We'll get into that today as well. It is the halftime show. David Ayer, Tyler Head, Terry Ford, till 3 on the game. halftime show. David Ayer, Tyler Head, Terry Ford. We're cooking till 3 here on the game. All right, so we only have like 1 or 2 spots left for the Spring Golf Classic at Charwood. You can still get in, though. Just call the folks over at Charwood, 803-755-2000. We got the Par 5 Golf Cannon, which I love. Give away a pair of tickets, season tickets for baseball and football. Also, special guest, Alex English, Basketball Hall of Famer, former Gamecock great, will hang out with us as well. Tons of food. I mean, we've got Firehouse, our buddy Larry, always helping us out with some Firehouse eats. We've got Hudson's. We've got sausage and onions and all sorts of stuff. There's mimosas. I think Gunner is the official mimosa tester.
Mimosa tester, what he starts the thing off.
Mm-hmm.
Keynote speaker, whatever you call it.
He wraps it up by handing out the awards. He's the only guy that golfs on the whole
I think he mows the grass too.
Well, that's how he, affords to golf there. Charlie.
Yeah, that's true.
He's Bill Murray from Caddyshack. So, yeah, we got that going on. Again, a couple spots left. Call 803-755-2000. Our Spring Golf Classic at Charwood. This year we're partnering up with our buddies at the Lexington County Gamecock Club. All righty. So, when you look at women's basketball, yesterday, I mean, look, it's been chalk, but it's typically very chalky, the women's games. Very chalky. Paige Beckers has a big day. Her last game in Stores, scores 34, ties a career high. NC State moves on. Obviously, South Carolina over the weekend made it through. UCLA, bets went crazy.
Really, no upsets to this point, which, again, kind of expected.
No, the biggest upset, the biggest issue, Juju Watkins, obviously. That was, that was unfortunate. I mean, look, it's an ACL. You rehab it, you strengthen it, you come back, you can still be really good. It's not like your career's over, but it stunk. You're a number 1 seed. You got a legit shot to win a national championship, at least get to the Final Four, and then you lose one of the best players in women's college basketball.
Yeah, and look, they're probably still talented enough to possibly still make the Final Four. Now they have to match up again with UCLA theoretically before they get there, which is a team that's beaten them this year. And they're still a talented team. Kiki Arefin had 36 points, even with Juju Watkins being out yesterday. But
she's a nice player. She came from Stanford, where she was really good. Yeah. I mean, she's just been playing second fiddle to Watkins, obviously.
And obviously, from the South Carolina perspective of this, you could have potentially matched up with Juju Watkins and Southern Cal in a national championship game, which would have been huge, obviously, for the sport itself, or just the ability, much like last year, to take on one of the biggest stars in the sport and try and deny them a national championship. And again, you could still face, the Trojans at this point, but it won't quite be the same without knowing that their best player's not out there.
Right, so that was the biggest thing from the weekend, because all the favorites pretty much moved along. That and Maryland and Alabama played 10 overtimes before Maryland won the game. It was crazy.
You talk about a little bit of an advantage. You play a team on already 1 day shorter rest than you, and they had to play 2 overtimes.
That thing was a thing, man. It was unreal. So South Carolina gets Maryland. Throw a ball at you real fast because I had to leave the room. I forgot to tell you I was going to do this. All right, here's Mike Shula, the offensive coordinator. Let's get cut 8. Any new installs on the offense? Because we're wondering, what's Mike Shula going to do different than Dow Loggins? And how's he going to deal with Lenore Sellers? And what's this offense going to look like if Mike Shula starts putting some tweaks in? So let's get cut 8, Dave. Mike Shula talking about any new installs on the offense.
Well, like I think I've said this from earlier in the year, and maybe even towards the end of the bowl game, is we did a lot of really, really good things last year, and we want to continue to build on those. Now, whether or not it's the same terminology, the same thing, or it's different, those are the little things, but that we'll continue to coach. But I think that it's going to be a little bit of a combination of a little bit of what in my background, what we've done, and as well as keeping a lot of the good things that we did last year. Each and every year, regardless of, you want to kind of take a look at what you did well, build on it, keep it rolling, find different ways to do it. The stuff that you didn't do well, you want to ask yourself, why? What can we do to make it better, tweak it, or do we want to get rid of it and spend our time on the other things? So, we're right in the middle of all of that right now.
So that's a nice word salad to say we're going to try to keep the stuff we do really well and then improve on the stuff we don't do really well. And then we're going to maybe throw a couple things in here that I carry with me.
We're going into Coach Beamer's 5th year here as the head coach of South Carolina. This is the closest you've had to continuity between your quarterback and OC, because every year you've had a different combination of either new quarterback or new offensive coordinator. And last year, again, this is changing once again with Dow Loggins going to App State. But you've now moved up Mike Shula from being underneath Dow Loggins to calling the plays. And again, he came in a year ago, so he was a part of spring practice a year ago now, helping formulate this offense around Lenore Sellers. So how much of it was him, how much of it was Dow Loggins, it's tough to say, but he had a hand in it to some degree of creating this offense and crafting it around Lenore Sellers. So it's not like he's just being handed a foreign playbook saying, here, run this other guy's stuff. Like, no, he was involved with this. And again, he was on the staff last year to help make this offense run the way that it did. So I can't imagine it's going to look too much different.
Now, you feel good that there's going to be some continuity because Shula worked a lot with Lenore's, just like Dow did.
He was the guy on the sideline.
Yep.
Dow's in the press box.
Yep. Let's get this cut 10, Dave. Any tweaks that Mike Shula wants to do to the offense? Because, look, everybody wants to add a little flavor of their own. And no two play callers are ever alike. Keep that in mind as we move forward, by the way. But here's Mike Shula talking about any tweaks he wants to do to the offense.
No, I mean, not. I mean, there's things that we're going to look at over the course of spring ball, but nothing major. I mean, like I said, we want to build on the good and then add and enhance to what we did last year, to what Lenore's provides, and then a lot of it is after that, it's just finding out what all these new guys, whether or not they're young guys that didn't get a lot of reps last year, or the new guys coming in, see what they can do well. And I think we have to be a little careful. Again, this is probably just my opinion based on being back in college football for basically just a little over a year now. I think you have to be careful because of all the newness and the guys coming in of trying to do too many different things early, like schematically, and then wasting time doing them, and then all of a sudden you get to the fall and you don't do them at all because you didn't like them. I'd rather do stuff that we know is kind of going to be our bread and butter stuff for next year, things that we can feel like we can hang our hat on, even though that still can change, but stuff that they've done well, and just really build a foundation in spring ball of the things that we know we're going to carry into the fall, and then that other stuff can get added later on in practice. We're not wasting time kind of looking at a bunch of stuff and then not getting good at the stuff we know we're going to be.
The one thing that I like that Dow Loggins always said, especially when he first showed up here in Columbia, was these guys only get X amount of hours to practice. We want them on the field playing, not thinking.
Yep.
It's one of the biggest complaints about Marcus Satterfield. We had a bunch of dudes standing on the field together thinking.
Yeah, because every play call is a polynomial equation.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, whatever. And look, Mike Shula's coming back to the college game. He's been around the college game a little bit here lately, but you want guys playing fast. Less thinking, more playing.
Yep.
And that's the one thing Dow always brought up that I 100% agreed with in the college game. You don't have a lot of time. Don't put too much in their head where they're thinking and not playing. They're all standing around together with playbooks out on the field. Hey, dude. Where are you supposed to move right here?
Yeah.
I think I'm
No, that's me. That's you.
Oh, you sure?
Yeah.
By the time, oh, wow,
Yeah.
Quarterback sacked.
Yep.
All right, just in case you just woke up, we'll hit some headlines of the day and what's going on in the world of sports. We'll Sweet 16 talk. And also, hey, Danny Hurley and UConn. Not the best look. We'll get to that next here on the halftime show. Tyler had David Ayer, Terry Ford till 3 on the game. Time you caught up in the world of sports, just in case you just woke up. Obviously, women's basketball in the tournament's gotten you to 16. Like we talked about earlier in the show, no big upsets at this point. An injury, we'll recap that in a second. A huge injury in the women's tournament. The men are at 16. A lot of chalk. One double-digit seed survived again, Tyler.
Yeah, that scrappy underdog Arkansas.
Yeah, who saw that coming?
Well, honestly, with the way they played at times this year, you're probably not a lot of people.
Well, the sad part is I didn't see it coming. I had them losing to Kansas to open up the tournament.
Yeah, but, you get stride at the right time. You finally start playing up to the level you're supposed to. Get some guys healthy, and look what they can do. 7 SEC teams in the Sweet 16.
I know. Now, does that mean the SEC's all right?
You still got to get somebody in the national championship. You haven't played for that in a decade.
Yeah, I still think that you got to get somebody in there. And I think you have legit shots. Look, let's see. I had 2 number 1s, Houston and Duke. I had number 3 in Texas Tech and a number 2 in Michigan State. But I almost picked Auburn to beat Michigan State. If Florida and Auburn made it to the Final Four, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah.
They're number 1 seeds. I think Florida will beat my Terps. I hope not, but I think they will. I think Auburn is going to get to the Elite Eight, and could they beat Michigan State? Of course they could. Well, Auburn's really good.
Auburn finally got past that, mile-long trench that was the first 2 rounds that they haven't been able to escape the past couple of years.
Since the Final Four run, Bruce Pearl hasn't gotten out of the first weekend.
So they got through that. So does that mean they're set up to go all the way now? And who knows? They said it after the game of the weekend, they're playing like the best team right now.
And look, the thing about them is, and why I picked Michigan State to beat them, was Michigan State kills you on the offensive glass. They are an offensive rebounding machine. Obviously, they play defense. You can't shoot threes. Great. They're a little below average. I just think there's a toughness and a grit to Michigan State this year. This reminds me of those old school Izzo teams that were always better than the sum of their parts. That's kind of what it feels like. Could Auburn, if Auburn can match, sort of like what Arkansas did with St. John's, if Auburn can match that grit of Michigan State, Auburn's more talented.
Sure.
It's just, can you get out there and, can you brawl? And that's what it's going to come down to. But, yeah, if the SEC got 2 teams in the Final Four, it wouldn't stun me. What if the SEC gets 4 teams in the Elite Eight, but nobody gets to the Final Four?
I think that's still a disappointment of a season because, again, you're built to be the best. You literally have half of the Sweet 16 field as of right now, and you're telling me you can't get at least 1 team into the Final Four because of that? That's disappointing. Because, again, everything that happens in the regular season doesn't mean anything unless you can't go deep in the tournament.
I believe, look, if you don't get a team to the Final Four, I think that's a failure. That's a massive failure if you don't get a team to the Final Four, especially right now when you got 7 teams in the Sweet 16.
Again, your odds are very good. And
should be.
Well, you have 2 teams playing each other, so you're guaranteed 1 in the Elite Eight, but you should at least have 3, 4.
Yeah, and Chris Beard's played in the championship game when he was at Texas Tech. I mean, he's a really good tournament coach. So we'll see where this whole thing plays itself out. But real quick, they do this giant killer thing on ESPN. The teams that most likely have a chance to upset. The biggest game with the largest chance of upset coming into the tournament was North Carolina beating Ole Miss. How'd that work?
It didn't.
Number 2 was Colorado State beating Memphis. Check box. VCU beating BYU. Oops.
I had VCU going deep.
I had them to 8. I bought in. Texas beating Illinois. Well, not only did Texas lose, but now they got a new head coach.
Yeah.
By the way, good hire.
New head coach from the guy that beat them in the play-in.
Yes, which I think is hilarious. Xavier beating Illinois was also a big upset.
Lost to them in the play-in.
San Diego State beating Ole Miss was also a big thing. San Diego over Michigan, the 12 seed beating the 5, almost happened, didn't quite work. Drake beating Missouri did happen. Yale, A&M, no. Liberty, Oregon. Those were the most likely of upsets, and only a few of those happened. But so now we move forward to 16. It's a lot of chalk. We will get to this conversation about the tournament's been ruined by NIL and the Cinderellas are gone and all that other mumbo-jumbo that was yapped about all weekend. All right, so we got the women and the men, both to 16 in the NCAA tournament. I do want to get to this whole thing with UConn.
Okay.
We got cut 27 here, Dave. You set it up, Tyler. You pulled the cut.
Yep. So after the game on Sunday when UConn got eliminated by Florida, as Dan Hurley and UConn are making their way off the court, going through the little tunnel area, heading back to the locker room. You may have seen the video already. Dan Hurley loudly was exclaiming his displeasure for how he felt he got cheated by the refs and was...
He was violated by the refs. Is that a nice way to say it?
Essentially, yes. And again, this was being shouted for everybody to hear. This was not a quiet conversation. And a reporter...
Well, he was yelling to the Baylor team as they were going to the court.
Yeah.
Right, Scott Drew.
Yeah. He was yelling at them like, hey, here's what you're dealing with. Hope they don't screw you like they screwed me. And that's what you're going to hear at the beginning. And then you're going to hear the anchor for Charlotte Sports Live explain the reporter that was on scene who recorded the video.
That's the video that's gone viral online of UConn head coach Dan Hurley voicing his displeasure with the referees and the Huskies' loss to the #1 ranked Florida Gators. Charlotte Sports Live's own Joey Ellis took that video and then was confronted by UConn Director of Communications Bobby Mullen. Mullen asked for that video that had gone viral to be removed. He then threatened Joey, saying he would, quote, ruin his life if he didn't. This was heard by multiple other reporters and staff on hand. Our management asked Mullen for a statement on the incident, and here's what he said. The lasting image of Coach Hurley leaving the court should have been his walking off the court arm in arm with the seniors, overwhelmed with emotion. Instead, a reporter who was in an area he should not have been recorded on his cell phone a private comment made to members of another coaching staff, end quote. Charlotte Sports Live and Queen City News, stand by Joey Ellis's reporting.
Okay. Was he in a restricted area?
No.
He was not.
Standing at the mouth of the tunnel where there was a lot of other people.
Yes.
He didn't sneak into the locker room.
No, he didn't hold the phone inside the door to eavesdrop.
Dan Hurley was not talking to any other coach quietly in a corner, and he went in there and stuck his phone in their face. He was standing 20 feet away.
Yeah. Two thoughts here real quick. First of all, I'm so tired of Danny Hurley whining about the officiating. It's been the entire year whining about the officiating. Did he whine about the officiating all the last two previous years?
Not what they won.
Yeah, they won national championships. The officiating was great. Danny Hurley basically is undefeated, and in the games he loses, he's screwed by refs.
If it weren't for those darn zebras, he would never lose a game.
Never lose a game. So I've had enough of the Danny Hurley whining over refs. It's gotten old. You're the bald man who cries wolf now, and it's just stop, dude. The refs didn't force your team not to play defense this year. The refs didn't force your team not to make plays, in the latter stages of that game that you lost. Look, Danny Hurley, your team lost.
Yeah.
The refs did not beat you. Look, you played great against Florida. Sure. God love you.
Fun game.
You didn't cash it in.
Yeah. Yeah, you were a flawed team coming into the tournament anyway. You weren't.
Absolutely.
You didn't look like the back-to-back national champions.
Underachievers. Yeah, they didn't want to play defense all year, but that's the ref's fault. The other thing is, when you get the communications guy, Mullen, the head coach sets the tenor and the culture of the program.
Sure.
And look, Danny Hurley's a hell of a basketball coach. He won back-to-back titles. But he's also a bully, and he also has a bad temper, and he also can be pushy and a lot of other things that make you go, bleh. Well, you set that tone with your program, and you empower others to feel the same way, and that's what you saw with Mullen. You saw a guy who, we are Danny Hurley.
Yep.
This is who we are, and we carry ourselves just like Coach, and we can act this way because Coach acts this way. You set the tone.
Yeah, and look, the reporter posted the video, and he didn't try and craft a narrative. He said, here is my video of Coach Hurley walking off the court. You can hear what he says. This isn't gotcha journalism. He's not trying to twist this in a certain way. He's presenting you with his perspective on what he saw, again, in a open space where there was a lot of other people hanging out there after this game was over. There's no lies being told here.
No, not at all. All right, let's hit it, Dave. Time to get a little injury report in here. Get you caught up on what's going on the injury front in sports. Nail it. No. It was the one we were on the top there, Dave. It's that injury. Hit that one. There.
Time now for the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm Injury Report.
When you're hurt at work or in an accident, Samuels Reynolds goes to work for you. The Samuels Reynolds Law Firm. True injuries. True lawyers. 779-4000.
All right, time to get you caught up again. Juju Watkins, Southern Cal. One, if not the best player, one of the two or three best players in women's college basketball out for the year, torn ACL against Mississippi State. Controversy at the Mississippi State players. There was a little bit of giving you a little bit of the business going down the court. I watched it. I didn't think it was someone was going out of their way to hurt her. I thought they're just playing basketball. It was physical.
It's unfortunate. At the end of the day, it's just unfortunate. It sucks for the team, sucks for the tournament. And again, who knows if she's even healthy enough when Carolina plays them at the start of next year.
And Dylan Eskew in concussion protocol got bonked in the head before Sunday start, and we'll see where that's going with Dylan Eskew.
Crazy.
All right, that's our injury report. Halftime show. We'll roll on with the Firehouse Sub Text the Hour next here on The Game. All right, time for our Firehouse Sub text of the hour, 803-404-6100. We've kicked a lot of stuff in this hour. We've rolled out some baseball, obviously, tonight right here on the game. South Carolina to Charlotte, neutral site game against North Carolina, 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock first pitch here in Columbia and our affiliate in Myrtle Beach. Also, we talk women's basketball, which we'll have this Friday here on the game in Columbia. We got into some football with Mike Shula. We'll get to some more of that in a little bit, talking about Lenora Sellers, obviously.
You weren't here yesterday. We had to catch up on everything.
We talked about our brackets, which your wife obviously is killing all of us. We talked about toilets, because I got to get one of those put in my place next weekend after this guy who almost destroyed my plumbing this past weekend. So we've had a busy hour, man.
That actually leads us into our Firehouse Sub text of the hour, because Patrick says, please splurge and get the rubber reinforced wax bowl ring.
Ooh.
I don't know what that does, but it sounds good.
It sounds really important. The what is it? Reinforced?
Rubber reinforced wax bowl ring.
Are we talking about the bowl? The bowl? Is it a ring? Patrick, help us.
Hold on.
The toilet set's on that, on the floor.
So it doesn't leak out the sides.
Thank you, Patrick. No,
okay.
Yes. Matter of fact, can you send me that text? What's it called? The reinforced?
A rubber reinforced wax bowl ring.
Thank you, Patrick.
Don't
rubber
want the paper
reinforced. Matter of fact, I'm going to text this guy now. You bring a rubber reinforced wax bowl ring. We don't need leakage.
No, you don't.
No one needs leakage. It's not a good thing.
In any sense.
Ever. Thank you, Patrick. We get a lot of good texts. Patrick, that might be the most important text when it comes to information we've gotten in over 3 years.
Well,
so, thank you, Patrick.
I can't wait for you to get in the argument with the plumber over this. Like, hey, guy on my text line told me I need to get this thing.
Bro, Patrick, my other guy, he's going to be my other guy.
That's right. You don't tell him where you know him from.
My other guy, Patrick, said this. Dude. Absolutely. Thank you, Patrick. Save Patrick's number. I might be texting him over the weekend. Hey, Patrick, help a brother out.
Hey, this is Terry. Quick question.
Help me out, Patrick. I need help. We appreciate the text like always, 803-404-6100. We got a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour like always. Real quick, and I'm trying to get back to it too. This whole thing about the NCAA tournament. Look, I get the fear that one of the greatest things about this tournament is losing the Cinderellas. I understand it because all these mid-major teams now are getting plucked by the power conference teams. Like, we're going to go over some of the South Carolina targets in the portal, the men. A lot of mid-major teams.
Yeah, you show promise at a mid-major, you're going to get a shot somewhere
And it feels like, yes, the mid-major's becoming the farm team for the power conferences.
Yep.
I don't think Cinderellas are dead. I don't. Do I think that we might see less of them at times? Maybe. But here I got a crazy idea, Tyler. It's 1 year.
Yeah,
Why don't we wait and see if there's any kind of pattern?
Did you forget Yale beating Auburn last year?
Yeah. I mean, just a couple.
Oakland beating Kentucky?
Yes. We had upsets last year. This year, you got to wait and see if there's a pattern of multiple years where we have the same thing. But that's boring, Tyler.
Yeah, I know.
Logic is boring.
Right now. I want it right now.
Yeah, I got to say I got to have a hot take so people can, click on it or watch it or listen to it instead of why don't we see if there's a pattern involved over multiple years. All right, a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour next, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors on the halftime show in the game. 1 o'clock hour means pretty much almost always nothing but football. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. I was sneaking in other stuff every now and then, like we did last week.
Yep.
Like you had Brad Muller yesterday, 1:30,
Yes,
right?
I did. Yeah, we switched up a little bit.
That broke the rule.
It did. Obviously, coming off of a impressive win on Sunday against Indiana and a mauling on Friday against Tennessee Tech.
That was a felony.
That was. Wes, Chris, and I kind of dove into the women's tournament and some numbers. I was shocked that nobody below a 3 seed had ever won. But when you think about it, you're like, no, that makes sense.
Huh?
Yeah. And there's been one 16-over-1 upset ever.
Yeah,
it's just pretty chalk.
It's pretty chalk. And, Brad, we could put Brad on the 1 o'clock hour because Brad played rugby.
He did.
Yeah. Played rugby.
Seems like a strapping guy.
Yeah, Muller, man, I bet you him playing rugby was insane. Probably had a big rugby shirt on, just started knocking the snot out of people.
If somebody gets too rowdy on the baseline,
you got to handle business. Brad Muller.
Enforcer.
That's right. So it's okay to have him on the 1 o'clock hour because he played rugby.
Sure.
Which is sort of like football, kind of. All right, so Mike Shula talking to the media yesterday during spring practice had a bunch of questions about Lenora Sellers. So let's start with cut 3, Dave. Mike Shula, basically his goals for Lenora Sellers during spring practice.
Well, I think number one, our goal is to pick up where we left off at the end of the year, not at the start of the year, and just we looked at some things in the off season that mentally and physically, looking at defenses and getting your eyes in the right place a little bit quicker and making sound decisions quicker and things like that. And then also now, because of the newness of the young receivers and the guys up front, whether or not they're rising freshmen or underclassmen or the guys coming from the portal, there's just getting a feel for how everybody communicates, reacts, plays. And in the meantime, I do think that he has done a good job. And yet he still has a lot to learn too. Just every position, but especially quarterback. There's so many different situations and outcomes and different looks that you can't practice them all. You try to present them all to them in the meetings and things like that, but they still come up different in the out there in practice. So you can't get enough of that.
Yeah, I guess everyone's concerned because they've seen one game with Mike Shula as the offensive coordinator. And really, I don't think you judge a guy on one game.
Right.
At all, especially a bowl game, is that he's going to try to take away what Lenora Sellers does really well, which is run with the football. Because in the Illinois game, the bowl game, it seems like Lenora Sellers all of a sudden was hesitant to run with the football. Mm-hmm. And everybody said, see, new offensive coordinator, I don't want him to run with the ball. Look, again, it's one game. It's a bowl game. And how much of that was Lenora Sellers possibly wanting to keep himself in the pocket to throw the ball? What was Illinois doing? Remember, Illinois was like, they were taking the run game away from Lenora Sellers.
They had a spy on him.
Yeah.
They were accounting for that. And I think it's a mix of both. And again, for what bowl games are now outside of being in the college ball playoff, they're kind of your first step into the next season. Mm-hmm. And you obviously wanted to win, and obviously you saw the passion from Coach Beamer and Bielema going at each other. That 10th win meant something to both programs. But if you see an opportunity where your quarterback can potentially improve on something and you get 60 minutes of live game reps against another opponent one more time as a bonus game in your season, why not? And it's not drastically altering the game plan, but being able to say, hey, instead of cutting and running at this point, try and see if you can find something down the field. Go through that progression again or whatever it may be and just kind of approach it a little bit differently. And again, that was one game. You have an entire offseason to work on those things to fine-tune it before the season actually starts.
And, it's that whole thing, too, breaking out of the pocket, make sure you keep your head up, and maybe something breaks down the field because the defense is coming to stop you.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So basically, it's the balance of – because at the end of the day, you would love to have Lenora Sellers be – a dangerous threat running it and a dangerous threat throwing it. So basically pick your poison.
Sure.
That's really what you want. And we saw games near the end of last year. Sellers beat you with his legs like Clemson, beat you with his arm like Missouri. So these things, it's just a sweet spot you have to hit if you're Lenora Sellers. And here's a cut 5 from Mike Shula talking about balancing Sellers' run plays.
Yeah, so I just think getting back to to the last question as well, the processing that every quarterback has to do every single play. The faster you can process and make good decisions with the football, the less you may have to run with the football. Now, as we've seen last year, he's really he's a pretty good runner. So we don't want to take that ability away from him, and we want to enhance that. But we want to do it on our own terms, not because, well, maybe I didn't quite understand the read, or I didn't see this, or I'm late on doing that, and now I have to run. We want him to run because he wants to, not because he has to. I think there were some times where we did both last year, and he did a great job with that. But obviously we want him to have him upright and throw on the football. So he's not going to be a running back where he's carrying it, 25 times a game. So, and that's part of his growing process.
And let's go back to the start of the season. The Old Dominion
first game, remember that?
Where he carried it 20 some odd times. We're like,
he was a running
whoa,
back.
He's carrying it too much. What's going on here? And then you go to the other end of the extreme in the Illinois game. He's not carrying it enough. So again, it's finding that balance. And again, I feel like the bowl game was an opportunity to experiment a little bit and try something that was going to help him be a better quarterback overall going into his second year as a starter.
And look, remember, it was year number 1 of Lenore Sellers' career as a starting quarterback at South Carolina. And, the idea of what Coach Shule is talking about, this isn't foreign. You want to be able to process, go through your reads, go through your options. And then if nobody's open and if it's there, go take it. You don't want to, one read, bail, and start running. Yep. You want to be able to process, go through your options, and when you break away from the pocket, like we said, there's times look up, look down the field. Don't just go to take off and run, look down the field. And, if they're coming to get you, that means somebody could be breaking open either the second or third level of the field, and you can hit a big play.
And let's not forget as well, there's a lot of times where Sellers had to take off and run because the protection had broken down. He was ducking sacks in the backfield. And, again, the back half of the season, he was doing a masterful job of, we called it Houdining his way out of so many sacks left and right, and then taking off and making more yards down the field. So it wasn't always a situation of him wanting to run. It's just he didn't have any more time to sit back there and wait on things down the field because the protection had broke down.
Well, think about the Texas A&M game. How many sacks did he avoid in the Texas A&M game?
Was it Shamar Stewart that was literally on his back? That he dumped off and kept on. I still don't know how he did that.
I don't either. He saved off the top of my head 4 or 5 sacks
at least
that game, if not more.
Because we look at the numbers and we say, well, the offensive line got better as the season went along. They didn't really. Lenore Sellers just got better at ducking tackles and avoiding sacks himself. And again, just using that freak athleticism to make plays with his feet. But again, it wasn't always designed to like, okay, well, I'm going to take off and run now. It's like, no, I got a guy in my face, and if I don't take off and run, 2 more of his buddies are going to come along and sack me.
Right. And that's the reality of what happened last year at times. Now, I'm sure Mike Shula would go into the film and say, okay, there's a few times here where once you break that pass rush, look upfield, there's a guy open, you never saw him.
And that's the next step. That's the next step. It's like, okay, you did the right thing by escaping the pressure in your face. And I get it, and the natural instinct's going to be to tuck it and run. But, again, here's, I don't know, Nick Harbor wide open down the field because this DB's come off him or it's created separation. That's the next step they're trying to get him to.
Exactly.
To make those kind of throws.
But again, I mean, the touchdown run against Clemson that, won the game, that was not a designed run.
No.
That was, oh, my God, I'm going to get killed. Let me get out of here. And before you know it, he's zigzagging his way across the field into the end zone.
Sure.
So, yes, you want him to process. You want him to get, to get better at all that. But at the end of the day, you know what you got to do more than anything? Protect him.
Exactly. And that's the thing is when he's making those plays, scoring those touchdowns and all that kind of stuff, we're not then going back over it with a fine-tooth comb saying, oh, if you would only thrown it to this guy, could have gotten a good play out of that. It's like, no, the play still worked. Yeah. But again, it's getting to that next step of taking off and running, but keeping your eyes downfield. Because that's what, if you're going to play at the next level, that's the kind of stuff you got to do.
When a lot of quarterbacks, and I'll go old school, like a John Elway, a Steve Young, guys like that who were mobile and could move, learned, hey, you know what? When I take off, I get hit a lot.
Yeah.
But when I break the pass rush and break the pocket, if I'm looking down the field, I might possibly be able to make a big play in the passing game and not just take off and run for 7. I might be able to hit a shot for like 37.
Yep.
So that's kind of where it's going. All right, here's the last one from Mike Shula. Let's go with Where's the other one I want to do here, Dave? 6, that's what I want to do. How to improve this whole processing thing we're talking about for Lenore Sellers.
Yeah, so you just talk about it constantly. You show looks in the meeting rooms of other quarterbacks doing it, maybe on other teams. You show, you talk about looks of yourself doing it, and maybe it's you're watching, having Lenore watch himself on this play and just say, hey, well, now if we had this play in that same exact look, what are you doing? And just, and have as many type of things that you can put them through, walk through stuff out there without the defense and just talk through it. So all those different, meeting rooms, get them on the blackboard, talk about it, ask questions, watch tape doing it, walkthroughs out on the field, practicing out on the field. I think as many times as you can do and say that. Now we want to have we have a set of rules obviously for every play, and because you can't go through all the situations, those rules are set up basically to respond in a positive way when things aren't the way the coach said, or they aren't the way it was drawn up. And so you want him reacting positively along those guidelines, and then you throw in the fact that you have a guy like him who can create on his own. Then that becomes like, icing on the cake, so to speak.
And we forget how many years has Lenore Sellers been the quarterback again?
1.
Yeah,
so far.
Yeah, we'll see how the improvement goes from year 1 to year 2, but that is like really the major improvement. There's other things obviously that you want him to do better, but the major improvement is when to make the throw and when not to make the throw.
Yes. And again, that's that next level. And again, this is a guy that's been a head coach in college football. He's been a coordinator at the NFL and had some darn good success with it. Like, he knows what's up. And I don't think he's going to lead Sellers astray. And again, he was a part of the staff that built the offense around him last year.
Right.
So again, it's not like he's coming in and trying to turn things upside down and say, this is my way now. Like, no, it's going to be pretty similar. But again, making Lenore Sellers a better all-around quarterback is hopefully going to help this team out as a whole.
Well, if you get Sellers to take that next step, you got yourself a weapon.
Oh, 1,000%. Like, again, we saw, because he got better as the season went along, and those last 6 games coincided with him really kind of hitting his stride at quarterback. And if you can, again, like you said, if you can start at that point where you ended the season last year and be 5-6 steps ahead of that when the Virginia Tech game rolls around in late August, who knows what this season's going to entail.
And then you got something, right? Right. All right, so we'll get back in as we talk nothing but football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Let's hear from Clayton White, defensive coordinator. He's in such a great mood these days.
When you have a really good season and, your entire defense is about to get drafted and everybody's asking you, like, hey, man, how'd you do it? What made your defense so special? You feel pretty good.
Get a nice raise. Life's good.
Yeah.
Contract extension. Talk about one day you'll be hired as a head coach somewhere.
I should have asked him for a loan last week when he sat down
Absolutely.
with us. Like, hey,
you,
man,
that haircut was
got
fancy.
like $20 for me.
Come on, hook a brother up. Come on, Clayton. You got paid?
Yeah.
You got paid? All right, our Gamecock Traditions over-under contest. Very simple, very easy. Go to 1075thegame.com. You click on the contest. This week, over-under SEC teams to make it to the Final Four. 1.5.
Ooh, okay.
That's the over-under.
Now we're talking.
That's a good one. Where you going to go? Over or under here, Bub?
Oh, I'll go over. But
It's you.
it's going to be tight.
I'm going through my bracket in my head. I'm going under.
My bracket's blown up, so I
Going
gotta
under.
recraft it
Yeah.
anyway.
You gotta make some dough. I'm going under. I can say it wouldn't surprise me if it was 2 or more. But I'm going to go under and say 1 SEC team. But you just do that. Go to 1075thegame.com. You click on the contest, and if you do get it right, you go in the pot of the people who did get it correct, and Gamecock Traditions will pick out a winner that gets a gift card. All right, halftime show. More football. Hear from Clayton White, defensive coordinator, next here on the game. We're rolling nothing but football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. David Dare keeping us on the air. Tyler Head, Terry Ford, as we roll till 3 here on the game. All right, we've been hearing from Mike Shula on and off through the show. Now we're going to switch gears, go defensive side of the ball. Clayton White, defensive coordinator. Clayton talking about there's some roles that need to be filled in this defense. We in the last segment we were yipping about how great of a year Clayton had and his defense, and a lot of those guys are gone. You got to replace pretty much everybody in the front 2 levels of your defense except Dylan Stewart. Now you got some guys hanging around you hope step up, like a Brian Thomas or, J.R. Johnson, the linebacker, Thomas, edge pass rusher. You're hoping a couple of guys can, step up again in the defensive backfield. You got a lot of guys that you got to replace. And here's Clayton. Let's start off with discussing. Look, our boy Knight was really good last year on the field at linebacker, but also off the field as a leader. Shane talked about the first time he heard Knight speak in front of his teammates, and Shane was like, "Oh yeah, that's a leader. That's a grown man." So here is Clayton, cut 18, Dave, talking about filling Knight's leadership role in the defensive room.
Yeah, I mean, that was awesome. I would say a year ago at this press conference, I wouldn't have said that Demetrius Knight was going to be the voice of our football team and pretty much our program. So hopefully right now we're putting guys in those positions to hopefully they can come out of their shell. And you really can't name a person because I would not have said Demetrius Knight last year, so I don't want to say a name now and put someone on the spot to make them come out, be who they're not. I think most importantly, we want our guys to be themselves. We want our guys to lead in your way because you wouldn't be here if you weren't a leader, I don't think. And I think Coach Beamer's doing a good job and Coach Day is doing a good job of putting these guys in position to expose themselves in regards of just, getting out in front of the football team, and I'm trying my best to do the same. So unfortunately, I don't have a name.
Clayton, man, I love Clayton. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I mean, look, we have this conversation all the time on this show. You can't make a leader out of someone who's not a leader. You just can't do it. Either you are or you aren't. And you could be a vocal leader. You could be a lead by example guy. Whatever it is, leaders, it's just there. And sometimes it takes certain circumstances to get it out of you, but you can't make a guy a leader if they're just not leaders. And not every really good player or great player is a leader. It's just the way it works.
And not every older veteran player is a leader either, even though you kind of naturally gravitate towards those guys being that because they've been around for a while. And you have to wait for it to come out of somebody. And I go back to Beamer's comments last week on Demetrius Knight, a grit night, which was right around this time a year ago. And again, he'd been on campus for all of 2 months, right? He probably didn't know his way around, any of the streets in Columbia at that point in time. But for whatever the situation was, Beamer saw, hey, the way he's talking to these guys, the way he's getting these guys hyped up, that's a leader. And that's where you kind of pinpoint and say, okay, that's somebody we're going to turn to. And, I imagine there's probably a couple guys in there that are probably leading the charge as of right now, but there maybe not be a definitive one, especially because you just had so much turnover. Mm-hmm. You had so many veterans. You talked about 37 seniors last year. You lost all those guys. Yeah. And so many of those guys with Boogie, with Demetrius Knight, just kind of talking on defense here, with Nicky Manwari, we're all leaders in their different ways. And Nicky Manwari may not have been the most vocal guy in the world, but he led by the way he played on the field. And people can emulate that.
I mean, the veterans that you lost, when you're talking about, Boogie, you're talking about Huntley, you're talking about Kennard, you're talking about the entire linebacker core, including Knight and Bam Martin Scott and Debo and, Eamon Wari leading by example. I mean, all these guys in some way, shape, or form had ownership of being leaders. And now you're looking around going, okay, who? Like I said, in a perfect world, Dylan Stewart steps up and becomes a leader in his sophomore year.
Sure.
But Dylan Stewart might not be that guy.
No, he seems like the quiet type, and apparently he's more open when he's around his teammates and stuff like that. But I don't know if he's going to be the guy that stands up in the locker room and, gives the Newt Rockne speech or something like that.
He might be a lead by example guy, or he might be this guy, ready? I'm going to go on the field, and I'm going to destroy quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And that's okay. I always talk about like in basketball. Kevin Durant in the NBA is one of the greatest offensive players of his generation.
Sure.
You know what he's not? a leader. He's not
Yeah.
a leader. It's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, Kevin Durant didn't have, I mean, whenever he's tried to be a leader, it's been a disaster. In Golden State, it worked perfect because they had all those leaders. They had Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson. They looked at Kevin Durant, just go out every night and score 25, bub. Thanks.
Yeah.
And that was perfect. So the point being is sometimes your best players are not leaders, and that's fine, but you got to have leaders in other spots. And they can't be bad players.
No, they can't.
You can't be a scrub and be a leader.
You got to be able to back it up on the field too. And you know, we're asking this question because last year's team was rife with them, and you obviously saw that translate to how well they played on the field. And really good teams, yes. Coaches are the leaders of the team when it comes to the structure of how everything's run. But within the locker room, when the coaches aren't there, that's where real leadership takes it to another level. When you have a team that can be structured and led by players when the coaches aren't around, when they're not looking. Here's the thing. We were all part of high school sports or whatever where you're doing conditioning for the season, right? And let's just say you're doing wall sits and you got the 45-pound plate and you're holding it up and having to turn it like a steering wheel or something like that. And the coach turns his back and like half the guys immediately stand up to give themselves a breather. And you may have that one guy in your team who's like, no, get back down. We're going to do this right. Like, that's the kind of thing you need when the coaches aren't there, when they aren't paying attention, the guys to keep everyone in line. Absolutely.
And look, we've all dealt with it in some way, shape, or form. You always had those guys that would lead. And like you said, the guy that hey, no. Don't slack it when the coach isn't turned around.
Yeah, and the coach turns around and sees who's slacking and get in trouble for it. Like those kind of things.
That never happened to me, ever.
Were you the guy that stood up? Hey, forward, get back down.
I had a 10-pound. I didn't even have the 45-pound. I had a 10.
Wait a minute. Why is his made out of styrofoam?
Yeah, why does he have a Nerf weight? I don't understand that. All right, let's get this one, Dave, real quick. Here's Clayton White talking about Dylan Stewart last year compared to now.
I would say that the main thing with Dylan that's different is just his process. I always thought that from day one that he had a special knack for certain things on the football field that not a lot of people can do. I believe that his day-to-day life is also just being a high school freshman last year, understanding just the little things on how to move day to day. And I think that's what I've seen the most from him. And he's understanding our defense to a bigger picture, not just the defensive end spot. I think that he is also starting to point other guys in the right direction on as far as, some things on some details on our defense. I think that's fun to watch. And, he's grinding through it. He's running to the ball, and he's having fun, a little bit more fun. I know his personalities seem like he's kind of a reserved person, but he comes out of his shell a lot. I think it's fun whenever he does that.
It's impressive he's doing that as a high school freshman.
Mm-hmm. Think about it. Look, your hope is on the field, Dylan Stewart gets more consistent playing the run game, makes some plays. I mean, you still want him to, terrorize quarterbacks, but you'd like for him to also be a little bit more well-rounded. Last year, Dylan Stewart made his bones by pressures and sacks and hurries and hits on quarterbacks. You'd like to see him, make some other big plays as well, like maybe in the run game or things of that nature. But it always circles back to, Dylan, either you get the quarterback, you occupy so many dudes, someone else gets the quarterback.
Yeah, have an effect.
And that's really what you want to look at, a more consistent effect this year. He was phenomenal last year as an 18-year-old or whatever.
Yeah.
Now you just want to see him, like Lenore Sellers, take that next step.
Yes.
That's all. All right. Cam Ward had a pro day. And I always am highly entertained watching the national talking heads who are dying to talk about anything regarding the NFL find something that they're all going to deep dive on that you stand back and go, wow, guys really desperate for something to talk about. We'll get to that next as the draft is about a month away. It's a halftime show. David Ayer punching the buttons. Tyler Head, Terry Ford. We are rolling up until 3 here on the game. All right, we talk a ton of football in the 1 o'clock hour. It's always sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the game. David Ayer making sure the yacht stays in the water. Tyler Head, Terry Ford, we go to 3 on the game. Now, again, today, or late afternoon, early evening, 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock first pitch. Carolina taking on the Tar Heels in Charlotte.
Biggest game of the season.
It's, according to Preston, it's a do or die for the program. No, Preston was like biggest game of Paul Maneri's tenure at South Carolina. If you look, when you say it that way, you might go, stop it. But right now it is because you didn't get swept. You got embarrassed. You got depantsed.
Yeah, well, in every quality team you've played,
you've lost
every game with the exception of the one game against Oklahoma.
Yeah, you're 1-8. You're 1-8 against ranked teams.
The past weekend, like you said, losing is one thing. If you lose 5-4 and 7-5 and then 8-6 on the weekend, it's not great, but feel better than getting run ruled and getting outscored 35-9.
Yeah, you got pummeled. I mean, when the other squad is averaging almost 12 runs a game in a 3-game series against you.
Again, I said this yesterday. If you added up all the runs Carolina scored in the entire weekend, it would not be good enough to win any of the games.
No. Arkansas had bigger innings.
Yeah. Well, God, they had a 40-minute bottom of the third on Friday.
8-run inning, then the 7-run inning on Sunday in the break the 4-4 tie.
Yep.
I mean, look, they can hit. The Eloy brothers are phenomenal. They brought some other guys in from the portal as well because, again, the offseason, Dave Van Horn went, we got to be able to do? Score. And they went out and did some damage in the portal last couple of years, bringing in talent, and now all of a sudden Arkansas is scary, dangerous at the plate.
Yep.
So that means fast forwarding to tonight, the idea is you got to get a W. You got number 1 Tennessee coming to Founders this weekend. Yes, North Carolina is ranked 21st in the country by D1 baseball. It'd be a nice win over a ranked team to figure it out tonight. North Carolina scuffled a bit here lately since ACC play started. I mean, and we'll get more into it in a little bit, but you gotta get it together tonight, find a way to grind out a W, and you got to win 2 out of 3 against Tennessee. You just do.
Yep.
You cannot lose another series at home.
Because you're going to be in a pretty deep hole if you do.
World of hurt. All right, back to football and more football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. All right, so Cam Ward, Miami of Florida quarterback, had a phenomenal season at the U. Ward is looked at as far and away, by the way, the best quarterback prospect in this draft. Shedeur Sanders is second. Jackson Dart is third. So Cam Ward had his pro day yesterday. And the headline that makes me laugh, God love you, Cam Ward throws at pro day, should be all the Titans need to see. Because what I need to see is a guy in shorts and flip-flops with no pass rush, no blitzers, no coverages, no one disguising the back end of the defense, no sticky man-to-man. I need him to throw to air. And receivers running around in their shorts and flip-flops.
In his most comfortable setting of the Miami practice facility.
His own players, his own receivers.
Yeah. Right.
That's really, look, I'll say this now, Titans, if you're listening, because I love the show, if yesterday cemented you drafting Cam Ward, you all need to be fired. You all need to go.
Well, he said himself, he solidified himself as the top pick.
He needs to be fired too. I mean, if you think that solidified you out there with that ridiculousness, I'll say this: if you throw at a pro day and you miss a lot of receivers, okay, then we have a conversation.
Sure.
Because again, there's no blitzing, there's no coverages. You're just throwing to your buds in your facility, at your program. So yeah, I get that. That will be what's up with that? But still, that shouldn't be the end all be all either. Because there's this thing called tape in games you did play against defenses. And that's what the Titans should look at if you want to draft Cam Ward or not. I've been saying this. Everyone's building. This is going on, Tyler. It happens all the time in the silly season. Mm-hmm. We're building up guys now. And sometimes we tear down dudes.
Yep.
But we're building up Cam Ward, and we're building up Jackson Dart. And there's been a little bit of like my kids would say, shade thrown at Shedeur Sanders, mm-hmm. which I find interesting. Just me.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of these guys are as good as last year's crop of quarterbacks at all. And then if you look at the people who scout this stuff for a living, they pretty much agree that neither of these guys we're hearing about the top 3 this year would go in the first round last year.
And look, Cam Ward, good athlete, obviously made some crazy good plays and helped Miami be pretty successful this year, though they ended up faltering down the stretch and missing the college ball playoffs. But when you look at his numbers, the inconsistency is what really stands out. And I'll use, for example, he threw 7 interceptions last year at 18 turnover-worthy plays. Remember was the Virginia Tech game where he really probably actually kind of threw an interception, but they ruled it. It was a touchdown instead.
Yep.
And, that could have been a turnover. But again, he consistently puts the ball in harm's way at a much higher clip than let's look at Jaden Daniels in his Heisman Trophy year back 2023. 7 turnover-worthy plays.
Yeah, I mean, that's
it's almost 3 times as many.
Yes. And Daniels threw the ball in every play.
Yeah, against much better defenses, by the way.
And look, Cam Ward, and you nailed it. He puts the ball in harm's way too much. And that stuff you got away with in the ACC is a pick 6 in the NFL. That's the problem with Cam Ward. He's a guy, look, he's got an NFL arm. Can he go off script? Sure he can. But here's the problem. He doesn't know when to know when.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
The Titans don't exactly have a track record of bringing in these young quarterbacks and turning them into superstars.
Oh, you mean Will Levis?
Yeah.
Really?
How'd that work out?
Yeah, it's worked out really well. Well, he can, what's he do with the mayonnaise again?
He puts it in his coffee.
That's right. He puts mayonnaise in his coffee, and that's why they drafted him, right? The Titans.
Yeah.
He was such a gamer.
Yeah.
We like a guy that puts mayo in his coffee. He did that pro day, solidified his spot with us. So look, I'm not saying Cam Ward can't be a good quarterback in the NFL, can't be a franchise quarterback. Hell, can't be a great quarterback. I say what you know now, moving forward, he isn't as good as the guys were last year. But now what we do, because you're dying for a quarterback,
Sure.
you build guys up.
If you draft someone number 1 overall, the expectation is that guy should be ready to play when the fall rolls around. If you want to draft somebody that's going to be a project later in the first round, again, have somebody start in front of them for a few games, half the year or two, and develop them and get them ready. If you're taking somebody as a number 1 overall pick, that tells me and everybody else that guy should be ready to go on game 1. And I don't know if Cam Ward's going to be that guy.
Well, the thing, again, like a couple years ago with Anthony Richardson, my biggest beef on that is the Indianapolis Colts took him way too high. If you take a guy that's that raw and has been unsuccessful in very important buckets of evaluation that can make or break you as an NFL quarterback, take that dude early second round and then just let him learn. Instead, the Colts take Richardson in the top 10. What's the expectation on a top 10 pick, Tyler?
You're going to go out there and start, and you're going to be a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, it just,
By the way, how's that working?
Yeah, it's great. It's going really well, isn't it? Wow. So now, by the way, they're getting competition for Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, because he apparently needs that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, back to Cam Ward is just the idea that I'm not saying he can't be a good quarterback in the NFL. My point is we're now building him up and I heard somebody say, yeah, he is kind of on the Jaden Daniels level. No, he's not. Not at all. He's not on Caleb Williams level. And then Jackson Dart, oh, God love Jackson Dart. I'm seeing mock drafts. Jackson Dart's going in the top half of the draft.
Yeah.
I've seen big boards. This guy's like the 45th best player in the draft. And these quarterback desperate teams are going to pull the trigger on Jackson Dart and put a ton of expectation level on a guy that shouldn't be a first round pick.
And we see so many of these teams, and the Browns are still kind of dealing with it. They just fall into this death loop, right? Of all right, draft quarterback, doesn't work out. Next year or two, draft another quarterback, doesn't work out, and just on and on and on and on. And they'll fire coach after coach after coach and go through general manager after general manager. But again, if you just keep repeating the same process over again, that's kind of where the Titans are at right now.
Hey, I got a cool idea. Ready? How about you build your team and wait maybe a year or two until you find the right quarterback, and then you know what you got? You got a team.
Because everybody's in win now mode. Yeah. Nobody's patient.
No, nobody's patient anymore. Because right now, because it is true, if you don't have a franchise quarterback, you got no hope in the NFL. I get it. But the wrong guy doesn't help you. The wrong guy's worse.
Right.
I mean, there are these teams that just throw fertilizer against the wall to see if it sticks and smells. If that doesn't work, okay, again, we'll do it next year. We'll do it the following year. Instead of having any kind of plan, you're doing everything out of desperation. How about you go, you know what? I'm not. If you're the Titans, I'm not down with Cam Ward. I'm not down with Sanders. I'm not down with the quarterback at 1. Then you take Abdul Carr, you take Travis Hunter, you do this thing called trade down and accumulate picks. Because guess what? You stink.
Yeah.
You are not a quarterback away from greatness. If you don't buy into any of these quarterbacks truly to be taken at one, then don't do it. It's very simple. Draft guys who are worthy for the pick. All right, Firehouse Sub text the hour next, 803-404-6100, as we roll the halftime show with David Ayer and Tyler Head and Terry Ford. Nothing but football in the 1 o'clock hour here on the Game. Do what you could with her. All right, time for our Firehouse Sub Text the Hours. We just yap football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on The Game. What do you got, man?
We're talking about Bill and doing everything on the golf course. Les says he's Carl Spackler, Bill Murray's character from Caddyshack.
Yes, absolutely he is.
You going to get in a fight with a gopher?
He's going to chase the gopher. I mean, let's face it, who would win? The gopher's bigger.
Ugh.
Probably in better shape.
I might put money on the gopher.
I would put money on the gopher. Bill's falling apart. Every time I see him, he's got some kind of injury issue.
Still got an ailment. Why are you limping, Bill? Well,
big bite taken out of his calf. What happened, Bill? Well, I was out there I was hosing down the 17th, and, well, let me tell you what, that gopher.
Well, you know what?
Text.
We need to find him the bucket hat that he had.
Oh, man, excellent text. Excellent. At 803-404-6100 here on the Halftime Show. We yap a ton of football in the 1 o'clock hour, like always sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. And, of course, the NFL Draft is coming. Less than a month away. Spring practice is rolling across the world of college football. And we're going to start hitting up some of our SEC buds to get reports on what's going on at spring practices. And by the way, I don't know if you heard this or not, but this was interesting when it comes to Michigan. Ex-Michigan football assistant pleads not guilty to cyber fraud. Remember this, Matthew Weiss?
Yeah, I remember that.
He pleads not guilty in a federal court to 24 counts of unauthorized access to computers and aggravated identity theft. Prosecutors allege that Weiss ran a vast multi-year effort to access the personal accounts of thousands of NCAA student athletes, generally targeting specific female athletes to access personal and intimate photographs and videos. By the way, the 42-year-old man is married, and he's a father of 3.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah. You know what? Whatever happens in court is nothing compared to that dude trying to deal with his home life.
Yeah, well, the evidence comes up in court.
Yes.
And he has to answer for it after the fact.
Exactly. Good luck, Matthew.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, have fun with that, bud. By the way, not to this, but like the cyber stuff, there was a St. Louis Cardinal back years ago. I forget how long ago it was now. Jeff Lunau was in St. Louis at the time. I know you'll be shocked by this. And that whole crew, a lot of them ended up in Houston that left St. Louis. So one of the guys who was still there and did not go to Houston was hacking into the Astros database.
Okay.
And got caught. And not only was fired, but was put in prison because that's a federal crime.
Uh-huh.
It's a crazy story.
Interesting.
A crazy story I was reading.
And this guy, he was doing something with email addresses, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember it now.
Yeah, I mean, and so that guy ended up in prison because, again, doing that stuff, you can break federal
anytime
laws.
you're hacking something, you're running a huge risk.
Yeah, so some of this stuff, man, then this guy, this is just creeper weird stuff that,
Yeah.
So hopefully, Matthew, for your sake, that you didn't do this.
I hope not.
If you did, good luck, my man.
I say, you might actually want to go to jail.
Yes.
Compared to what your wife's going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. We'll hear from Paul Maneri about tonight's game against North Carolina. Also, the men and the transfer portal, some of the rumors. We'll get to that coming up next here on the Halftime Show on The Game. What's trending at 2 here on the halftime show? Tyler Head, David Ayer, Terry Ford. We were rolling up until 3 here on the game. We'll dig up a couple of the. We're going to start just throwing these out, not all at one time. Little tidbits of information as guys at Gamecock Central doing a really nice job, following the rumors for South Carolina's men in the transfer portal. We're going to get to that here in just a few minutes because I'm not going to go with the dramatic make or break, but if, again, what I said about South Carolina beating North Carolina tonight, it's a game that's in your best interest to win. If you're Lamont Paris, it's in your best interest not to repeat this past year.
Yeah, 1,000%. Because, again, the guy that's in charge now didn't hire you.
Yep.
He has no loyalty to you.
Zero.
And the half of the season that he presided over was awful. And you put together the worst stretch of conference basketball in a very long time for this school. So, yeah, next year is very important. You're essentially cleaning house, whether by your decision or these guys deciding to go in the transfer portal themselves, and teams go looking much different next year. By the way, record number, 700 guys entered the portal on day number 1 yesterday.
And you know what's interesting about this? Again, look, the calendar, we all understand the calendar makes no sense, right? We do. Because right now, 16 teams are still playing.
Yes.
And the rest of the country can go start.
Oh, not to mention teams in NIT and CBI and DMV and RSC.
All those
and
other
God knows
weird
what
tournaments.
Else. Yeah.
I mean, you got the portal open, but there are not everybody's into their off-season mode yet.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, the calendar, we all get it from football. The calendar's kooky. It makes zero sense. But if you're South Carolina, and we're going to get to some of these rumors in a few minutes about maybe some guys. And look, this is just the reality. You don't have to like it. You better have money to spend. I'm hoping that, nice Uncle Jeremiah gave you a good amount of money in the wallet to take with you shopping.
And that's my thing. As much as we'd love to have CMB come back for another year, which I don't think is going to happen, if he did, my first question is, okay, how much money is he eating up? And how much do you have to spend elsewhere? Because, again, it's great to have him this year, but you do not have the caliber of talent around him for this team as a whole to be successful, and you're looking at repeating that again.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's great to have a high-level player who is going to be a first-round NBA draft pick. It's great to have that. And I think Colin Murray-Boyles will be a first-round pick. I think second half of the first round, but I think he'll be picked in the first round. And if you're going to, and we went over this, the money you're going to make, if you were the 30th pick in the NBA draft, you're going to be popping over $2 million a year.
Yes.
So for Colin Murray-Boyles to turn that down and to come back to play basketball at South Carolina, A, you better pay him about that much money. And B, why would you come back to stink?
I don't know.
And 3, what kind of money do you have to go get players to put around that guy? So I think he's gone. I just don't think he comes back.
And I don't. Could he theoretically maybe work himself to being a lottery pick? Sure. But that's not a guarantee. And again, when you look at Cooper Flagg, when you look at Juju Watkins last night, is he going to risk injuring himself, potentially hurting that what is right now a guarantee of being a first rounder?
Well, and here's the other part. You know what? Everybody says, well, come back and work on your game in college. You know what you can do you know what you don't do in the NBA? Go to class.
You don't.
You know what you do? You know what you do all the time in the NBA?
Play basketball.
So
they also have a developmental league that's designed for, hey, this guy's not quite where needed to be. Let's put him down here for a little while, and let's get him developed, and then we'll bring him up to the main roster later.
So, look, would I like to see him come back in a perfect world, and they put pieces around him, and South Carolina gets back to the NCAA tournament and does some damage? Oh, absolutely. But I'm just saying, if I'm Colin Murray-Boyles, and once I go through the NBA draft evaluations, I'm going to go to the NBA draft combine and all that other stuff. If they tell me I'm a first-round pick, let's say roughly top 20 or between 15 and 25 or whatever, I'm leaving. I just am.
Why wouldn't you?
Now, if you got me down near the end of the first round between 25 and 30, that's a conversation I now have to have with I always love this, team of people. Because once you get between 25 and 30, you can slide into the second round.
Sure.
You just can't. It's just because a lot of times, I think we talked about this before, between 25 and 30, it's all the really good teams.
Yep.
And a lot of them don't have a lot of cap space. So what they'll do is they'll draft a guy from Bangladesh and stash him for a couple of years, and then they'll figure that out. And sometimes the guys never show up.
Yep.
So you might lose a draft spot near the end of the first round for those kind of players. So you might fall in the second round. Now, second round, it's not guaranteed contract. Sometimes guys will get a guarantee in the second round, but that's not a guaranteed contract in general. Some guys get two-way deals. But you want to be in the first round of this draft, and if they say, well, we think you're like 28th, which I don't think they will for Colin Murray-Boyles, but then you have a decision to make because you could conceivably fall into the second round.
Sure.
But I think Colin Murray-Boyles will be a first-round pick, and he'll go. And now swinging back to our conversation, because we'll just do it now and get to Maneri in a minute. Okay, how much money do you have to spend? Jeremiah Donati was on with Jay and Elijah on the postgame show, about 6 weeks ago now, something like that, right after he got hired?
Yeah, roughly.
And Donati, it's been a couple months, and Donati basically said he's going to sit down, and he's already sat down with Lamont Paris. Okay, what do you need? What do you need from me, the athletic director at South Carolina, to help you get the program back where it was last year?
And remember, let's go back to that report out of LSU, the Bengal Tiger, that South Carolina was operating allegedly with among the lowest NIL resources of anybody in the conference, them and LSU. And again, who are the bottom two teams in the SEC this year? Them and LSU. And it was around less than $2 million. And if you believe the numbers that Gamecock Central has put out from Colin Murray-Boyles prior to the season, he was eating about half of that. So again, your best player was eating up half your money roughly. And then who knows Cam Scott. So two players, one of them really productive, one of them not so much, were probably eating up anywhere between, 65, 70% of your dough. And saying, okay, now go out there and fill out the rest of your roster with this amount of pocket change, essentially, compared to everybody else. Yeah, you didn't end up with a really good team.
This is interesting now, and here's the idea: we're talking about money. Because this is just, again, the reality of what we're talking about. There's a guy, Trayson Eaglestaff of North Dakota. Dude made a lot of buckets. Lots of buckets. Matter of fact, this past season, he had a 51-point game against South Dakota State, dropped 40 on Alabama in the non-conference. Guy can score just under 19 a game, hit 36% of his threes, scored in double figures all but 3 games this year. Do you think South Carolina is the only power conference squad to look at this guy?
Probably not.
So if you're going to chase this guy, you better have the NIL dough to go get this guy, right?
Pretty much.
So if you are in the conversation for a player of this ilk, then is that telling me that you're upping your NIL game? That we'll see, but that's what we're talking about. And one more that popped up here as well is, let me get it up here. Donovan Atwell played at UNC Greensboro for 3 years, 6'5", nice size, 6'5". Hit 40% from 3, 90% from the line, average in double figures, around 12, 13 a game. Ready? South Carolina, Tennessee, LSU, Wake Forest have all sniffed around this guy.
Yeah.
That's what you're dealing with.
You can find a diamond in the rough, but having to rely on that is, you can't do that.
No. You can't go diamond in the rough shopping all the time.
You also can't rely on, I know ELALs is coming in with a lot of us. You also can't rely on a true freshman coming in and setting the world on fire, because we thought the same thing about Cam Scott.
I was going to say,
he was going to be, hey, when CMB's gone, there's your next guy, and that hasn't happened.
Cam Scott was a higher rated high school recruit than Ellis.
Yes.
Scott was top 40. Ellis is top 100, but he's not top 50. So, and not to say Ellis can't be better than Cam Scott. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
But again, comparison.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all we can do right now. So you can't put all your eggs in a basket of a guy coming out of high school who is not looked at as high rated as Cam Scott.
And as critical of a year as next year is going to be, as a head coach, you can't chance that.
No.
Saying, all right, well, I think this freshman's going to hear me good. I think Cam Scott in year number 2 is going to be the guy we thought he was going to be. You can't take that chance. You're going to have to go out there and find proven talent.
There can be no thinking.
No, you better know.
You better know that the guys you're bringing in have resumes of production, because you got to get this thing back on the right track.
Right.
And you got to hit the portal, and that takes money. But you know what else it takes? Because again, Kansas State last year spent a ton of money. How'd they do in the NCAA tournament? Didn't make it.
Yeah.
Indiana spent a ton of money in the portal. Not only they didn't make it, now they went and got a new head coach. So just having the money is great, but evaluating properly and bringing in the right guys is even more important.
Yep.
Now, a couple years ago, Lamont Paris hit home runs with Talon Cooper and B.J. Mack. had Michi stay, and you go to the NCAA tournament. Last year, pop-ups?
Pop-ups or slow dribblers.
Some slow dribbler
That,
action.
the third baseman can
Just pick up and
sling
gun you
first
out.
base.
Mm-hmm. So
I don't know. Are you line drive back to the pitcher maybe?
I don't know about that. That's a lot of extra velocity.
That's a hard hit, so maybe not. Routine ground balls.
Yeah, routine grounders, pop-ups, dribblers. That's kind of what you got last year.
You're either on top of the ball, you're underneath the ball, you're not making solid contact.
No. Couple strikeouts.
Few strikeouts.
Mm-hmm. Looking.
Yeah, bottom of the ninth.
So you got to evaluate, and you got to bring. But again, the evaluation, the money go together, right? The money's important.
Yep.
But you got to be able to evaluate and bring in the right guys who will fit your culture, your systems, what you want to do, what you're about. It's all. Look again. Kansas spent money in the portal the last couple of years. Culture on that team was terrible.
Yep.
And Bill Self is a Hall of Fame college basketball coach. So this can affect anybody if you get it wrong.
Sure.
But you got to bounce back quick, sort of like Dennis Gates did at Missouri. You got to bounce back fast.
How many times are we going to say that this offseason?
Oh, constantly. I mean, I know that we want to look at it like, okay, this is your roadmap. I don't know if that's your roadmap, but I guess what it shows you, it can be done.
It's
that's
possible.
What it shows.
It's possible within your own conference and they were even worse. They didn't win a single game.
I know.
You at least won a couple.
And now they're in the NCAA tournament. All right, or they were, thanks to Drake. They're not anymore. All right, so that's kind of where this thing is at. We'll keep giving you the rumors of different guys who pop up because, I mean, you hope that South Carolina can get a couple. We'll see. But you got to have the money.
Yep.
You just got to have the money. And then you got to evaluate and bring in the right dudes. All right, so Paul Maneri on the postgame show yesterday with Jay and Elijah, like he is so kind to do every Monday at 5:15. Here's Paul Maneri. Let's get cut 23 here, Dave. Coach talks about a rough weekend. Cut 23.
Well, obviously it was a very tough weekend for everybody. A lot of it had to do with just the quality of the Arkansas team. They're just as potent and powerful a college baseball team probably that I've ever coached against. It happened to be that the wind was galing out, and their physicality and their strength and the way they swung the bats. I mean, they're clearly one of the best teams in the country, and we ran into a buzzsaw with them. The first night, we had a couple of bad things happen to us. Some of it was our own doing, and the game just got kind of out of hand. And then the game on Saturday was I don't know when I've ever seen anything like it. Jake gets the first two hitters out on 8 pitches and hits the third batter. They give up a base hit, then it gets 0-2 on the next guy. We're a pitch away from getting out of the inning with no runs, and he hits a 3-run homer, and it just snowballed from there. And Jake just couldn't get the last out, and we couldn't make a play for him. And the game just 8th spot in the first inning, and just created a very difficult situation for us. Yesterday's game. The other thing that happened on Saturday was before the game, which you alluded to, Dylan Eskew was out in the bullpen doing some pitching drills during batting practice, and one of our players hit a ball out of the park in batting practice, and unfortunately it hit him in the head. And, so he started to have issues with that, as you might imagine, and we had to scratch him from the start on Sunday.
I mean, it was a bad weekend, man.
Yeah.
Bad weekend.
Again, if you didn't watch any of the games and I told you the SQ thing, you'd probably be like, probably wasn't a good weekend.
Yeah. I mean, offensively, defensively, pitching, hitting, just everything. Got out everything. And we'll get another Paul Maneri cut in our next segment. Continue on what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Also, we'll grab a call on the Love Chevy phone line at 803-404-6100. David Ayer, Tyler Head, Terry Ford. We go till 3 on the game. Halftime show, What's Trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions here on the game with David Ayer, Tyler Head, and Terry Ford as we roll till 3. Then Jay and Elijah will take over with the postgame show. We got a couple of spots left. That's it for our Spring Golf Classic at Charwood. Just give Rock and the folks a call, 803-755-2000. Get your foursome in. I mean, lots of food. Geez, it's going to be sausage and onions. It's going to be, I'm trying to think of everybody that's going to be, we got food from our buddy Larry at Firehouse. And
So you're telling me Josh is going to be there then?
well, if there's food from Firehouse, sure.
No, he actually didn't go to Firehouse last week, believe it or not. He actually had a meeting. He actually did a meeting.
Yeah. Wife wouldn't let him come.
He missed us eating the spicy sandwich.
Wife wouldn't let him out of the house. Yeah.
Guess not.
Had to finish the list.
Yeah.
Wasn't done. That's what happens. So we'll have Firehouse. We'll have some sausage and onions, I believe. We got some sandwiches also as well. Hudson's, I believe, is bringing sandwiches. Alex English will be there. Basketball Hall of Famer, former Gamecock great. We have I love this cannon, this golf cannon. You can go out for whatever. It's going to be a par 5. Cannon's going to be sitting there. Put your ball in there and fire that baby, and it'll go right on the green.
See, we have this tech-infused golf league that they're doing on ESPN now. But you give me golf ball cannons, I'll watch that.
Absolutely.
Where every shot has to come out of the cannon.
I'm not a golfer, but you give me a cannon to go play 18?
Sure.
I might totally change my idea of golf.
Now, is there different speeds to the cannon, or is it just one?
No, you could set there's different ways to do it. I think there's like different angles, all sorts of cool
boom,
stuff.
perfect. You got your initial shot, you got your putts, you got your chips, all that kind of
How
stuff.
much fun would it be putting with a cannon?
It'd be phenomenal.
I see. I'm in on this. I'm ready to go play.
Yeah.
To be able to use the cannon. But that way, and of course, all the proceeds help out our friends at Camp Discovery. We got a lot going on is what I'm trying to say. Also, baseball and football season tickets. We'll give those away to 2 lucky winners in the raffle. So come on out, hang out with us again. 2 spots left, 803-755-2000. Our Spring Golf Classic at Charwood. This year, we're partnering up with our friends at the Lexington County Gamecock Club. So,
Are you saying that if you were like an engineer major, or say in the military that did shots, figuring out where that shell's going to land, you'd be in. This would be good for you.
Yeah, I think
maybe get a hole in one.
Probably. Yeah. You see, get an engineer out there trying to set up the degrees and everything else.
If you science it out, I'm sure you could.
Like Bill Nye? Bill Nye would kill at this.
Bill Nye's not actually a scientist.
Stop with your dirty talk.
He got like a degree in political science or something like that.
Bill Nye is the science guy. How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you tell the truth?
I didn't know that as a kid.
You just ruined kids' lives by telling them Bill Nye's not a science guy.
I mean, he's the science guy, but he doesn't have like a degree in it. I'm not saying he doesn't know science.
Next time you're going to say, that wasn't really Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. You're ruining lives.
Now, Mr. Rogers was authentic. From everything that I heard, he was the same guy off the camera.
He was. Everything you hear, he was actually, he didn't hang up a sweater and become a jerk. He was actually that dude.
That was who he was.
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Man. Romper Room. TV when I was little.
Wow.
Oh, jeez. All right,
Kukla, Fran, and Ollie, what was their name?
Oh, Kukla, Fran, and Ollie, wasn't that it? I think that was before our day, Dave.
Bozo the Clown?
Yeah, that stuff was a little before me, Dave.
Mr. Green Jeans?
I remember, that was Captain Kangaroo, dude. Captain Kangaroo, Mr. Green Jeans was interesting.
Wait, Bozo the Clown was before your time?
Yeah, a little bit.
I remember Bozo the Clown.
I don't remember Bozo the Clown.
Maybe it was a different version.
Maybe it could have been. Maybe you got his drunk cousin or something.
You always woke up in the morning, after a drunk and watch a Bozo on WGN.
I don't remember watching, but I heard of Bozo the Clown. I never watched it, or maybe it wasn't on in my neck of the woods, my hood. All right, so Paul Maneri talking to the media. This is one of those games tonight. It's in your best interest to win. It just is.
Yes.
You are 1-8 against ranked teams. You have been scuffling and struggling. You got to get yourself right. And North Carolina's got a couple of dudes. There's no doubt. Hunter Stokely this year has an OPS of over 1,100, 9 homers, driven in 30 runs. Don't get me wrong. Hunter struck out a bunch, but has also walked 12 times. Also in the power department, Luke Stevenson, who was looked at as a preseason first-team All-ACC by a lot of folks. Stevenson also this year, 284 OPS, over 1,000, 7 homers on the year. 30 walks, only 22 strikeouts. They got some guys who can do some stuff.
They do. And again, you're in a situation tonight where ideally you would have liked to have Jarvis Evans start again because, again, he has been very efficient in the midweeks. Obviously, he's taking a step up in competition level compared to what he's seen, but I think we're all excited to see how he would do. And look, here's the thing. He actually did a decent job on Sunday being thrust into that starting role on less than a week's rest and went out there and did okay. And, again, now because he pitched on Sunday for 3 innings or whatever, you got Brandon Sweeney, who started at JUCO but has not started here at this level at South Carolina. And, again, much like Brandon Stone, just because you go out of the bullpen doesn't mean you're going to be great thrust into a starting role. So we'll see what happens tonight.
Okay, North Carolina also, they run a bit. They've stolen 40 bags this year in 45 attempts. Kane Kepley is 17 of 19. Tyson Bass is 9 for 10. You might want to keep those guys off the bases.
Yeah.
And it's not just about catchers throwing them out. It's about pitchers holding runners and being fast to the plate and things of that nature to give your catcher the best opportunity to throw somebody out. So the North Carolina running game is also a thing that you got to keep an eye on tonight. Really, North Carolina's only got, out of their 26 team home runs, it's 16 with Stokely and Stevenson, so not a lot of power through the line. Like Arkansas, everybody hits home runs, so the top 6 guys were sick.
Yeah, and they had almost 50 home runs going into the weekend. And
felt like they hit 50 over the weekend.
Yeah, they eclipsed that for sure. So again, you're going to there's a reason they're ranked. They're good. They're going to give you problems, and again, it is in your best interest to win this game tonight.
Yes, so again, 6:45. Pre-game, 7 o'clock first pitch right here on the Game in Columbia and our affiliate in Myrtle Beach. All right, here's Paul Maneri. We get back to the coach talking to Jay and Elijah on the postgame show yesterday. Let's get cut 25, Dave. Look, when you're 1-8 against good teams, the thing you need to try to, at all costs, stop is your team letting it get in their head, right?
Right.
Well, Paul Maneri talks about not letting the losses affect the team mentally. Let's get cut 25, Dave.
I met with the team today, and went over a lot of things with them, that would be internal, meant only for internal reasons, ways to improve and things that we need to do a lot better and so forth. It's my job to keep the guys in a positive frame of mind. You can't do anything about what's been done already. All you can do is look forward and get ready to go. And we've got great opportunities ahead of us. Next weekend we have another one of the very top teams in the country coming in. And before that, we go up to North Carolina and play another top 10 team. So, the schedule is definitely, challenging right now. And, we have some areas that, obviously we're going to, strive to improve in and, this year and beyond. And we just got to keep battling, got to keep the guys in an enthusiastic state of mind and believing that they can do things, and then they've got to go out and do them. We got to make more plays in the infield than we did this weekend. We've got to make some better pitches. We've got to come through with some clutch hits, which we haven't done in the last week. So, it's a difficult game to play, and I understand, people that follow the program get frustrated, when we don't do well, but it's all part of it. We've got to improve in some areas, which we'll do over the course of time through recruiting. And there's areas that we can improve upon this year with the personnel that we have, and we'll continue to work to do that. All we can do is just, keep working hard with the players and keep encouraging them and try to work on the things that we need to work on and go out there and get a good win, hopefully tomorrow night.
Look, you got a lot of season left. You can't let guys get in their head that it's a bad baseball team.
No, that'll set in, and then you're playing the back half of the season without confidence, and you don't want that.
No, not at all. All right. Greatest day in the history of the world. We'll get that next. Also, you ever been to Tartan days, Dave? Tartan days? All right, we're going to talk about Tartan days. We're giving away tickets. That's coming up on the halftime show on the Game. Time for the greatest day in the history of the world, which is March 25th. But first, we got some tickets we're going to give away for Tartan Days. Dave has been to Tartan Days. Did you participate in the Tartan Day games, Dave?
No, I don't think I can pick up one of those logs and toss it.
You don't think so, Dave?
I don't think so.
Did you wear the kilt?
Oh, no, I didn't wear the kilt either. They have a blessing of the kilts, which is pretty cool. I don't know. They call it something special.
All right, ready? Close your eyes and picture David Dare in a kilt.
Oh, I shouldn't have asked.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of people wearing them?
Yes, tons of them. I mean, they have bands. They have big bagpipe band. I mean, it's like, I don't know how many people are in it, but it's tons of people. And they play the bagpipes, and there's bands that play Celtic things, and it's really cool. And a lot of athletic activities.
Honestly, I hear it's fun. I hear this Tartan Days thing is cool.
What's the most important question? How's the food?
Oh, the food's fantastic.
So you didn't go throw any logs or boulders or nothing like that?
By the way, it's not a lot. It's like a telephone pole.
Yeah.
Like, they're not just logs.
Gigantic,
These things are
man.
massive.
It's ridiculous.
They're big. And it's something about the small end and the heavy end. And,
I guess the other question, did you get hit by one of these days by accident or anything?
oh, no, I stand way back.
It was like, I've never been to Tartan Days, but I hear Tartan Days is a lot of fun.
It's it's tons of fun.
I'll tell you another thing, too. I never, ever in my life ever had the desire to go to a Ren Fest.
Okay.
Ever. It just wasn't my bag. But I had a couple of buddies of mine who went to one, and they came back going, dude, you got to go. You got to go to a Ren Fest. Why? Because the people watching is phenomenal at a Ren Fest.
I'll say we're going to be at Carolina Cup this weekend. That's some interesting
some people watching. You'll be
I'll
at
be there.
Carolina
I'll be
Cup
there.
watching people. Come say hi to Tyler. He'll be at Carolina Cup watching people. Sit next to Tyler and watch people.
Sure.
Why not? So we got that coming up this weekend as well. But we're going to go let's go texters, Dave.
Sounds good.
Texters number 6 and 7 will get tickets to Tartan Days, which is coming up. Oh, that's next month. I'm blanking. I can't believe I'm blanking. It's coming up in April, Tartan Days. So we'll get you.
First weekend in April.
Is it first weekend of April?
I think.
I know it's after Carolina Cup.
That's next weekend, first weekend in April.
Yeah, well, it's a weekend, I think, after Carolina Cup or something like that. But we will give you tickets for Tartan Days. Texters 6 and 7. Or 5, 6, and 7. Why not? Let's get crazy.
Sure.
Give away some tickets to Tartan
4th and
Days.
5th.
Good enough, Dave.
You got the text line over there, Dave?
April 3rd, 4th, and 5th? Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
All right, so we'll get that taken care of. Just text 803-404-6100 that you want tickets, and we need some info because we need email address and phone number, and we'll get you in. All right, so the greatest day in the history of the world. A couple of interesting ones today. March 25th. 1934, a couple old school. Horton Smith wins the first Masters. You knew that, right?
I did not.
You didn't watch it?
I was negative 62 at that point in time.
I was a lot of negative
I knew that was around the time when the first Masters happened.
So Horton Smith wins the first Masters, and if you don't know who Horton Smith is, maybe you just heard the name, or if you're really into golf, you know. But Horton Smith actually won like 34 tournaments in his career. Turned professional in 1926. So he was a professional roughly up until 1937-ish. He was really good in the Ryder Cup. Like I say, he won majors. After he finished playing, he served in the U.S. military, in the Army. During World War II, Special Services Division, coordinating athletics, discharged as a captain. After the war, became a club pro at the Detroit Golf Club in Michigan in 1946. He remained there until he passed away in 1963. So, Horton Smith, that was the guy that won the first Masters.
Yep.
There'll be a quiz later. Another one, old school, 1958. Sugar Ray Robinson regains a middleweight championship for a record 5th time by beating Carmen Basilio in a 15-round decision. So ask me how good Sugar Ray Robinson was.
How good was Sugar Ray Robinson?
I will tell you, Tyler. At one point, Sugar Ray Robinson's record, and I'm not making this up, was 129-1.
It's the opposite of Glass Joe.
Yes. Concrete Joe. 129-1 with 2 draws. And then again, he wasn't a youngin'. He was getting into his 30s, and he kept fighting, and he kept fighting to need the money because the people who were handling his finances screwed him over. So his final record was 174, 19, and 6 because, again, he was fighting when he shouldn't have.
Right.
At one point, 129 and 1.
Jeez.
One of the greatest fighters in the history of boxing, pound for pound. Sugar Ray Robinson. Of course, if you've ever seen Raging Bull, you know that deal. So, anyway, Sugar Ray Robinson regained his middleweight title for a record 5th time on this day, 1958. Was that? Yep. Take 2. Good job, Dave. Nice work. Also on this day, 1972, Bill Walton scored 24 points. UCLA won the national championship, beating Florida State. The Philadelphia 76ers, this day in 1973, posted the worst mark in NBA history, 9-73.
It's pretty bad.
That's a season. Scotty Bowman, one of the greatest coaches in NHL history, gets his 900th career win. Red Wings beat the Canucks this day in 1995. 2006, World Figure Skating Championship title. 16-year-old Kimmy Meisner wins the World Championship in figure skating.
What'd you do at 16?
I was figure skating. I finished second in the men's.
You got the build for it.
I'm a figure skater. She's winning world. You know what she's doing? She's winning the World Championship at 16. I'm buying Clearasil.
I was going to say.
I'm getting pimple cream.
Those are the people that accomplish more at the age of 16 than we will in our entire lives.
I know. It's just sad. This day in 2008, Tennessee gives Coach Pat Summitt her 100th career NCAA tournament win. They beat up Purdue. The win sends the Lady Vols to the NCAA regional semis, the Sweet 16, basically.
Yeah, they made it every single year.
Pat Summitt was phenomenal. I always said when Tennessee was struggling in men's hoops, I'm like, well, let Pat Summitt give it a shot. Why not? I think she could have done it. Absolutely. 2011, Southwest Regional. First time in NCAA men's basketball history, the 3 double-digit seeds are in the double-digit seeds are in the semifinals. VCU was an 11 seed. They beat 10 seed of Florida State in overtime. Top-seeded Kansas then beat number 12 Richmond in the other regional semi by 20.
Yep.
Of course, those days are over according to experts.
Yeah, I know. It's all
never
downhill from
again.
here. It's never going to happen again.
All 1, 2, 3, 4 and seeds. 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds.
Shame.
From this moment on. This day in 2016, Klay Thompson scores 40 points. Steph Curry adds 33. Golden State becomes the second team to post back-to-back 65-win seasons. They were quite the dynasty there for a bit.
Yeah, in the middle of that run. Again, they're still trying to hang on to that, but it's not quite the same.
They're trying with Jimmy Butler, and look, they're better since they got Jimmy Butler, but they will not be hoisting the Larry O'Brien Trophy.
No, they will not.
No. They'll get in the playoffs. Could they win a series? Sure. But do I see them doing any serious damage at this point? No.
Nah.
Not at all. All right, greatest day in the history of the world. All right, we'll wrap this baby up. Get our Firehouse Sub Text the hour coming up, 803-404-6100. Also, we'll do our handoff with Jay Phillips for the postgame show sponsored by Little Pigs on Alpine. That is next halftime show. Wrapping this baby up here on The Game. halftime show. We wrap this baby up. Get our Firehouse subtext the hour in a second, 803-404-6100. We had somebody on the text. Well, hit that text line. Hit two. You can hit two. One was a promotional announcement for us.
Yeah, somebody said that they tried to sign up for the Golf Classic, and apparently Charwood is all booked up now.
It's all sold out?
Yep.
All right, cool. Very nice. So I guess we're sold out for Charwood and the Spring Golf Classic. If you jumped in, thank you very much.
Is this on? I can't tell.
Yeah, you're on. You're actually on the air.
You're good. You're good.
I can't hear myself very well. Gunner just bought up all the spots so nobody can see him play golf.
Oh, we figured it out that he is Bill Murray from Caddyshack. He's working over at Charwood.
Yep.
Carl Spackler.
Bringing a bucket hat. He's going to fight with the gopher. It's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure. What is this par 5 cannon?
Oh, it's phenomenal.
That just sounds like something, again, that I don't want Gunner around after.
Oh, no, we don't let Gunner
like
go
the
near
third
it.
hole.
Well, we're not letting Gunner go near it.
For obvious reasons.
We could put Gunner in it. He'd fit.
It's probably bigger than he is.
Wouldn't he fit?
Ooh.
We could do a contest. You know our over-under? You know the over-under we're doing?
Tell me.
150 yards over-under. We shoot Gunner out of the cannon.
I'll stay and not show prep that day. So you tell the audience in advance. What's the day? Is that next?
It's this Friday.
This Friday.
Yeah.
I'll have a bad show. Sorry.
Stuff going.
Not that I have great shows.
Remember the Civil War thing where you put the thing and then you stuff it in there? What's that thing called? You used to stuff them in there?
I know what you're talking about. The cannon.
Ramrod?
Yeah, something like that. We just ramrod Gunner in there.
I went to the circus a couple weeks ago, and they have the girl that actually gets shot out of the cannon at the end of the show. That's Bill.
Shoot Gunner out of the golf cannon. That would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's very cool. We did it. We were taking turns shooting the golf balls. It's fun, man.
It's funny because I'm back here producing, and Terry, every break, takes his headset off, and I can hear him. You hear the foop of the gun, and then him laughing maniacally every time it shoots.
So good.
Like 20 feet away from the microphone.
Nice.
It's so good.
Nice.
Yeah, honestly, I was telling Tyler, if I could use a golf cannon and play golf, like 18 holes, I would play golf.
Well, that's my thing is like we have this tech golf league that's on ESPN. Give me golf cannons, and let's play golf that way.
It sounds...
How much fun would that be?
Like if I could just shoot my drive through my can, then have to like chip and putt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you can. Right. You said you can adjust it.
I think you can adjust it. Maybe you can. We can find one that we can chip and putt with.
Here's the strategy to like get it in on a putt. You got to fire it into the ground and make it bounce.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
This is good stuff.
Like there's strategy behind this.
I think we got something here.
All right. Well, I just want to shoot Gunner out of a cannon now.
So do I.
I don't even care what kind of cannon it is.
You know what? I've got
somebody call Fort Jackson. What do we got over there?
We can get him one of those sequin jumpsuits.
Oh, look like Elvis?
Like the wings on it.
Or Evil Knievel. Hey, look, remember that?
Oh, of course.
Jay? Evil
I had all the Evil Knievel toys. I had
Snake River Canyon.
Evil Knievel crank motorcycle and the crank rocket. Oh, yeah, man.
Oh, yeah. I had the 50 broken boned Evil Knievel.
Those of you who are of a certain age know what Terry and I are talking about.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And if you don't, YouTube it. It's entertaining.
What was his son's name? Like Gunner?
Robbie Knievel.
Robbie.
Yeah.
Robbie Knievel. Not as good as Evil.
I would say he tried to do the same thing.
Yeah,
I just think there was something about Evil Knievel that you really can't replicate.
I agree.
You know?
That man was insane.
Yeah.
Remember that Snake River Canyon?
Oh,
we were kids. He's jumping over the Snake River Canyon. He didn't make it.
Like at the Guinness World Record for most broken bones at one time.
Remember they saw him in the hospital, like the old school, like newsreel. He's in the hospital. He's got casts everywhere.
This is hard sometimes, but the Simpsons, they have a character called Captain Lance Murdoch, who's Evil Knievel, and Captain Lance does all that kind of stuff, and he's all injured, and so Bart Bart worships this guy in this episode.
Okay,
and Lisa is just deathly afraid that Bart wants to be Captain Lance because he does. And so Lisa takes him to see him in the hospital when he's all in traction and bandaged and whatever else, right? And Lisa is convinced that Captain Lance is going to tell Bart, not to do it. And as soon as the nurse goes away, he's like, "Good for you, son. America has the finest doctor to daredevil ratio in the world." So let's get Bill a doctor.
We'll
and the
suit. Scene.
But Tyler's right. The suit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And we'll have Gunner sign the waiver.
No.
Oh, we don't want to be liable. Dude, please.
It'll be fine.
All right. What do you got coming up quick?
Derek Scott's coming up.
All right. That's next. Halftime show. Good work, fellas.